Hello guys, JONBO here, and I'm going to bring you a Windwalker guide. This is for people who just started playing Windwalker, maybe you've just upgraded your account, or anything along those lines basically. This one's going to be for you guys. If you are a high-end panda Windwalker, then, well, you may get some tips off of here. If not, what the hell are you doing on here? Anyway, jokes aside. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the very basics. So, once you are geared, obviously, we're talking about PvP gear here at the moment. A lot of this you will be able to use for PvE, because it all works pretty much the same, doesn't it? Let's be honest. So, with all my gear and everything else like that, the majority of things I've gone into is agility for gems. Haste, I've got sat at 21%. Now, I've had a look around and apparently 21% is really good for Windwalkers. Let's see what else we need to go on to. Hit at 3% because that's all you need to hit somebody of the same level as you. So level 90. Obviously, if you're doing raids and whatnot, you want to go for more. You want to put it up to, I think it's 7.5%, maybe 7%. I'm sure you'll work it out when you start reforging. Expertise, I've got mine sat on 6%. So as you can see, level 90s have a 0 dodge chance and a 0 parry chance. Obviously, when you come up against rogues and stuff, there is a lot. They've got a lot higher dodge, I think it is. So that will still happen. Right, and crit is sat on 45%. I'm currently got the 2 buffs on. When you start off, obviously you always want to make sure you got your buffs up. It is Legacy of the White Tiger and Legacy of the Emperor. One gives you 5% agility and intellect and strength, and the other one gives you 5% crit. Fantastic. Okay, so Mastery is sat on 40%. Mastery gives you a chance to gain, what's it called? Tiger's Brew. Let's have a look. Is it Tiger's Brew? Yeah, Tiger's Brew. Tiger's Brew is one of your most important abilities. We'll get to that one in a minute. So, that is pretty much the stats that you need to worry about. Right, next we're going to go on to the talent tree. Now there are a couple of changes you can do in it, but this is basically the cookie cutter. So we start off with Tiger's Lust. This one is, it's the move like immobile. It removes roots basically. So that's what it looks like, and you get a little sprint. It's fantastic. Keeps you moving. Chi Wave. This one is a heal and a dot. So if I just click on him, cast it, you'll see it bounce off to him. Then it'll bounce back, hit me as a heal. Hit this guy, me, there, and as you can see, it's bounced around loads. Now this actually, when you use your Tiger's Brew, when you get your Tiger's Brew stacks, it actually increases the amount of heals it do. Okay, so next is Chi Brew. Chi Brew is, these are the ones that I use and I think are the best. If there's anything where there's some discrepancy and you can change it, then I'll just talk about that. So Chi Brew, as it says, you can read it, instantly restores 2 Chi and generates 2 stacks of Tiger's Brew. That is this one here. Basically you can see it says 2, so if I press it, it will give me 4 stacks, 4 dots, 4 combo points, whatever you want to call the damn things. And it'll also give me Tiger's Brew, which is fantastic. Next one, this one, there is discrepancy. You can change these. So I'm using Leg Sweep, which is a stun. You sweep anybody within 5 yards, you knock them down. You can also use Ring of Peace. Ring of Peace is great. You can cast it on yourself or others. Any damaging spells done to anybody whilst in that ring by a person in that ring will become silenced, or if they attack you, disarmed. So Ring of Peace is very good against casters and, well, basically DPS of all sorts. Charging Ox Wave I've never ever used this thing. Basically, you fire out a ball straight out in front of you, which means you kind of have to be paying attention to exactly where you're aiming this thing. That's that one. Next on the list is the level 75s. Now, I'm using healing elixirs. As you can see, it is sat there just running its own business. So what this means is when I use any of my normal abilities, my brews or my teas, so if I use chi brew, if I use tiger's brew, if I use energizing brew, nimble brew, anything like that, I'll heal myself. Obviously it's not constant, it has a cooldown. What's the cooldown on it? 18 seconds. So every 18 seconds, if I use one of those abilities, it'll give myself a self-heal. Very, very strong against pretty much everything, because obviously you're keeping yourself topped up. Never ever touch dampen harm. Being that it's on a 1.5 minute cooldown, it doesn't feel good enough to use, because obviously, as you read there, you dampen the damage from the most harmful attacks done to you. The next 3 attacks within 45 seconds that deal damage equal to 20% or more of your total health are reduced by half. It doesn't seem good enough. You could out-heal that. Anyway, so the next one is Diffuse Magic. Diffuse Magic is amazing against casters. Preferably dot classes like I think it's the Affliction Warlock, Fire Mage, things like that. Anything that puts dots that do insane damage, this is great. What it does is it reduces all damage taken by 90%, and if you use it while the dots are on you, it reflects them back onto the target if they're within 40 yards. This lasts 6 seconds. If you apply it before they dot you, it will just reduce it by 90 seconds. So if you go up against, say, a god comp or something like that, or where people have got a lot of dots, basically, this is the one to use, because they're just going to do nothing to you. You imagine that Chaos Bolt comes flying in and hits you for 2k, they're going to cry, because that's literally what it'll do. Okay, last but not least, level 90 talentry points. So we've got Rushing Jade Wind, Invoke, Exhume the White Tiger, or Chi Torpedo. Right, so I've never even clicked on Chi Torpedo, as I don't see it, and I've not seen anybody else use it. There is a discussion between these two which one's the best. Now, in my opinion, I prefer Rushing Jade Wind. It's on a 40, it costs 40 energy. You can have it up constantly. When you get your Tiger's Brew, I hope I'm saying these right, when you get your Tiger's Brew, it obviously increases its damage. I'll show you in a minute. You can constantly keep it up. It's fantastic, and you can work it with other things. Obviously it hits everybody around you. Invoke Exhume the White Tiger. Now, I've tried using this thing, and it frustrated me. Don't get me wrong, this thing can do and does really good damage, but if you put it onto a target, somebody can taunt it off, which means you've lost it on your target, which is really frustrating. It also can be rooted and CC'd. I believe it can be rooted, actually. It can be taunted though, which means you put it onto something and they can drag it off, which means that your damage dealer, which is what this is now hitting the wrong target. It lasts 45 seconds, which is pretty good. It's like a no-brainer. So if you don't want to worry about your damage, you know what you pop and burst on, this thing's the one to go. If you're doing PvE situations, this will be great, because you can put it onto the boss. Nothing's taunting it off the boss. It can just sit there and wail on them. It also does AoE damage to everything as well in the vicinity. So yeah, that's those. Rushing Jade Wind takes over your AoE, basically. It turns into your full AoE, and it ticks while you're doing whatever you want to do. So, glyphs. Let's have a quick look. So I'm using Glyph of Sparring, which, as you can see there, while sparring you have a 5% chance to deflect spells from attackers in front of you, stacking up to 3 times. So that's a 15% chance to spell reflect. I have had it where I have been fighting a warrior, I've made sure the druid is behind the warrior, and I've reflected cyclone. It works. It's really, really cool. What's the other one? I've got Touch of Karma. Now this one is, goes without saying, you need this one. Your Touch of Karma now has a 20-yard range. Normally it would be melee range. If you're trying to fight somebody and they run away from you when they're almost dead, this is what you want. Or you can put it onto a different target, which I tend to do. Next we have Touch of Death. Touch of Death no longer costs chi, but it has its cooldowns are increased by 2 minutes. Used to before, obviously pre-glyph, it would cost you chi points. It would be on a 1.5 minute cooldown, yep, and everything else. When you're fighting somebody in an arena or anything like that, that 1.5 minute cooldown doesn't matter, because if you hit them with the thing, they tend to die. I've had one warrior somehow survive it. He had a priest with him, didn't have wings on. He rallying cried it. I don't know how that worked, but I'm not going to question it. Anyway, so Touch of Death. Once you put it on somebody, they're dead. GG, game over. Now, your minor glyphs are all pretty much whatever the hell you want to put in there. However, one I do suggest you put in is Blackout Kick. This is one of the only minor glyphs I've ever known that actually increase damage. They're actually useful. So your Blackout Kick, which is a pretty substantial damage dealer as it is, deals an additional 20% damage over 4 seconds, regardless of your position, before you'd have to be actually behind the target for this to proc. You do, however, lose the healing. However, because you're using elixirs, that minor heal is negated for 20% damage. If you hit somebody for 100k, that is an extra 20k on top of it. So it's substantial. Right, so we've covered glyphs, we've covered the stats and the talent tree. So next on the list is DPS, the burst. The burst is quite simple. There is a few ways of doing it. You don't need to use fists, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you burst using fists. Now make sure obviously you've got your buffs up, and what you want to do is use your chi brew twice. So here we go, 1, 2. So now I've got 4 stacks. There's my target selected. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to charge him. I'm going to apply, I can't even remember the darn name of the ability, hang on. Right, so I'm going to apply Blackout Kick, and I'm going to apply, where is it? Tiger's Palm. Quickly, Tiger's Palm, let's see, where is it? Tiger's Palm. Tiger's Palm is an armor reduction, and Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, what am I reading? Rising Sun Kick even increases their damage taken. So you definitely always want these two on the target before you open up. It's a given. I've taken so long, I've actually got another Chi Brew stack ability, so I can pop that, put this up to 9. What you want to do, what you tend to want to always do, is pop your Tiger's Brew at 10 stacks. 10 stacks is going to be the best, basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Flying Serpent Kick in. I'm going to hit him with a Rising Sun Kick followed by a Tiger Palm. Hopefully I'll hit 10 stacks at that point. I'll then pop my Tiger's Brew, my Rushing Jade Wind. I'll do 2 jabs followed, no, actually I should be able to do 1 jab followed by fist. And this is the most primitive burst. There's other ways of doing burst, but this is the primitive one. So go for another. So I'm up to 13 stacks now. I've got plenty. So now I will charge, stop, and then I'll hit once, twice, and into fist. So I'm hitting for 344k, as you can see. So there you go. Now, I've still got everything ticking, so I can carry on. But in that short succession of time, as you can see there, that was 265k damage per second. Obviously, this is a level 85 dummy, so it's reduced slightly, but for 8 seconds, that's a lot of damage you're putting out. If you get it all right with your procs and everything else and your trinkets, that can be a killer in itself. Many of fights I've taken people down to 20% instantly. And as you can see here, let's have a quick look through. So jab did 27k, Tiger's Palm 84, Rising Sun Kick 144k, Rushing Jade Wind. Now this is the one which doesn't do a lot normally, but let's have a look at it now. So Rushing Jade Wind crit 3 times for 51 to 65k, normal tick 29 to 35k. So you take the PvP power and PvP resilience into that, it's going to be ticking for around 10 to 20k. That's not actually that bad if you think about it. For 5 seconds you've got a dot that's next to you that hits the target. It's pretty good. Melee hit was ridiculously hard. Fists, now that was 5 crits, and the reason why is because obviously I am sat on 45%, but when I build up my stacks, when I pop my trinket, it all goes high. Trinket, now that's one I will quickly just mention. I've got my macro, this button here, right in the middle of my screen. I'm going to put arrows to all these for this ability. I've actually got my trinket bound in with this, so when I pop it, I pop my trinket as well. It increases my everything by exponential amount. The great thing about pandas as well is, let's see if I can actually just get it. So I'm just going to hit him to get 10 stacks, so I'm not overly worried. I'll also tell you about this bar here as well in a minute. So all I'm trying to do now is just get 10 stacks. I don't care how it comes, I just want it to come. There's 8. Oh, I could just heal. Right. Come on, 1. There you go. Right. So now, trinket's ready. Let's have a look at my attack power. 45%. So if I pop this, which will pop my trinket at the same time, it's already gone up to 170. 51% crit, which means, as you can imagine, everything hits harder. Also, if I jump back and cast my heal, while that's all up, it's now hitting me for 63k. So that's also a good one to use. Right, I diverge. So, if you're not fisting, if you're not choosing to fist yet, because you don't always want to be fisting people, sometimes it's best to hold back on the fisting, especially when you first get in there. If you're not fisting, you want to obviously have your stacks, but you want to get your first one down, you want Rising Sun Kick, you want to get your Tiger's Palm. Once that's down, then you just want to do your Blackout Kick. What you want to do though is always make sure you've got Rising Sun Kick on the target. Rising Sun Kick hits like a tree. Right, and I've let it drop off because I'm just legendary like that. Believe it or not, trying to talk and do this at the same time is actually quite tricky. So, what's all these extra things here? So, one of the problems I found was I was letting my stacks drop off. So as you can see here, what I did was I made an add-on. It's called Tell Me When, and what it does is it shows you what your abilities are. We'll see if I can actually put the link in the description so you can just copy and paste it. And what it'll do is, for example, here, this is, I can't remember its name, it's Tiger's Palm. So you want this one gone, like that, and This is Rising Sun Kick. I can never remember the names. You want this one up. So you just want, for me, I have it as a triangle. See? So I know, once I see it like that, I know I'm fine. These two here are actual normal buttons, because I'm using just, like, I don't even know what I'm using for a flipping bar anymore. And it just shows me which one, so I can physically click on it if I wanted to. I don't, but it's there. So that's the burst. If you want to do constant damage, you're not warranted to do fist. Fists you would use, by the way, I've got to put that in. Fists you'd want to use for when you're low on energy as well, because obviously you don't want to be wasting your energy. Don't let it cap out, basically. Defensives. Okay, so obviously, before I forgot to mention, so you've got Touch of Death. Now, as you can see, I've got it in about 50,000 places. One, because I think it's amusing. Because if anybody sees my bar, they go, "Oh my god, all you do is Touch of Death." Pretty much. Anyway, so Touch of Death. Obviously, you just press it on something, and they die. Now, Touch of Karma. I don't know why I just pressed Karma instead of Death. Touch of Karma is, believe it or not, you're not going to be using it as a damage dealer. You want to use this more as a defensive, because the second that you use Karma on somebody, everything stops touching you. They go away. Saying that, if there's a chamois, and this is going to just get comical, if there's a chamois, a paladin, or a chamois, paladin, or what was the other one? Mage in the enemy team, and you put it onto them, then the mage will just ice block it off, which is a pain. The chamois can hex you, which is just as much of a pain, and Pally can bubble, I do believe, but actually it's the Druid Cyclone will counter it as well. But these are your defensives. So if they pop bubble, if they pop ice block, for example, the mage, unless they cancel it instantly, you're safe for the moment. If you're cycloned and you've got a healer in your team, then it's just a case of when your healer can get back onto you, because they'll lose their burst, because you use it when they burst, basically. And chamois, well, you're screwed, basically, because there's nothing you can do. Just sit there and cry, because they can still attack you and everything else. So that's Touch of Karma. Touch of Death, obviously use it on the person when they get low on health. What is it? It is 10%, I think it is, which is like insta-death. Fantastic. So everybody has 90% health to you. Right, so that's your defense. That's all your damage dealers, and one of your defenses. One of your other defenses is, I can't remember the name of it. I can't actually remember where it is on my bar. I am that good, I don't actually look at where my buttons are. So let's find it here. Right, defenses, healing. We're going to cover both of them at the same time. So you've got your orbs, which everybody knows we all love orbs. So I hope that's not too high. Okay, so put my health down, and it heals me for 127k. That also gets changed by Tiger's Brew. Chi Wei we've covered before. Expel Harm. Expel Harm gives you 2 chi points and heals you, and it also deals damage to a nearby target. Let's see, and also, as you sort of just bounced off to him, and also it stacks with Tiger's Brew again, as with everything else. Fortifying Brew is a damage, it's your wall basically, within reason. Now this increases your health by 20% and reduces your damage taken by 20% for 20 seconds. All the 20s basically. This one is not as good as Karma, believe it or not, because people can still hit you through it. Yes, it's 20% damage reduction. Everything else, as you can see there, I get a bit taller, turn grey, and I got 669 health now. Fantastic. What else have we got? We've also got energizing brew. Energizing brew increases your energy. Let's see how much by 60 energy, sorry, over 6 seconds. You get a stack of it basically, and it will also heal you. Tiger's Nimble Brew is your Panda trinket, or your Windwalker trinket, Monk trinket, or whatever the heck you want to call it. That's your trinket, so you can use that instead for fears, saps, most stuff basically. You've also got the freedom, and you have got, what else is there that we need to talk about? You've got detox, which is there. That will remove poisons, and what else does it do? Yeah, so harmful poisons and diseases, which means if a DK is wailing on you, yeah, you can just take his frost fever off. It makes him cry. Yeah, so you can take stuff off. You can dispel things, which I think is funny as hell. Zen meditation is great. Basically, if your mate is getting nuked by a caster, pop Zen meditation, go all funky like, you take all the damage while this is going, and it's reduced by a gajillion. Great for well, any form of caster. If you're hit by a melee, it cancels it. What else have we got to talk about? Storm, Earth and Fire. This one's a sneaky little badger. So what I mean by it being a sneaky little badger is it can and can't be good. So what it does is if you use it once, so I put my target there like that, I get a little apparition and I transform into a semi-translucent ninja samurai dude. As you can see, it's just sat there wailing. Now I can, what that does, if I open up my character page so you can see, my damage is reduced. If I remove it, damage goes up. So 41% goes down to 29. If I put it onto a third target, it goes down again. So I'm doing 22% damage. However, you've also got Tiger's Brew, which would mitigate it. But what we're going to do here, I'm going to quickly show you, is I'm going to put it onto one target, close that, and I'm going to do my burst. Now what you want to do is see this orange damage here, which he's doing 20k ticks. That's not exactly that bad, seeing as I'm stood here. You can see there he's doing 30k damage a second. It's going up, and I haven't actually done anything yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my burst, and then you try and what I'll do it from here. Just swing in, 1, 2, that, and then fist. Now look what he's doing. Can you see that? So my Russian Jade Wind is hitting these targets over here. Now if you look, he's now doing 55k damage. So he does what I do, which means he hits phenomenally hard. If there's anything I've missed, anything I've forgotten to mention, anything you're not sure about, want to know about, or anything like that, if you have any questions, feel free to chuck a comment down below. I do read them all. Well, I do read some of them, maybe. No, I read them all. I do read them all, quite simply, and I will respond as soon as I can. If it's something like I missed out on the video, then there's a chance I could actually just put up another video with the parts missed, basically. If you like it, if you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe. It would be much appreciated. It helps me on that long road down the road. Long road down the road? It helps me down something anyway. Yeah, so if you did enjoy it, then obviously hit the like and the subscribe. Feel free to come and check out my channel. There's quite a few other bits. I've got a warrior guide on there. I'm going to do another one of them soon. I've also got some arena footage, some which I find quite funny, you know, people spontaneously combusting, or parts where I'm getting quite higher rated, in my opinion. Anyway guys, till next time, ciao.